Okay, guys, it looks like we got a reasonably good live stream going. Okay. My name's Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. Over here, it's about 8:44 in the morning, and it's Thursday, and our weather is, I don't know. I think it might rain today. Let's give it a look. 64 degrees now, so for us that's cool. It's going to be actually a beautiful day. Not that I'm complaining. Sunny and a high of 75. It's going to be like super good day. Tomorrow they're talking rain, but they're giving us a 35% chance, which is, iffy. Um, no, tomorrow's partially overcast. No. Today, 75 sunny. Tomorrow's sunny and cloudy mixed. 75 high. Saturday, 35% chance of rain. Sunday, the same. And then Monday, partially sunny, but the high starts going into the 60s. And then Wednesday, rain. And then we start having lows at night in the low 50s, which gets cold. But I've already got my old blanket out, my big thing. It's actually too warm. All right, I got a lot of ground to cover today, so I don't want to do chit chat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the mother of all analysis of the war that's beginning in Venezuela, what Trump is going to do, how he's going to do it. And this is going to be based on multiple similar events like Libya and Iraq and many events in the past. How the Americans operate, there's no reason to expect differences. It's the same old thing. And I'm going to explain it to you what they're doing. And then we're going to look at how much ground Trump's going to cover this way and if it's going to be enough. And then we're going to look at what is North Korea, Russia, China, and Iran likely to do if they do. Oh, they will. Oh, they will. And they already have. And we're going to get into that. And it's to a good extent not what you think. And then we're going to look at Bible prophecy, Jeremiah 50:51, and maybe Isaiah 47 as well. And then we're going to try to glean how this is going to turn out for America. Okay? And I'm going to show you things that the preppers and the survivalists with all their social media sites, these are the people that try to sell you survival food supplies, survival equipment of various sorts, and millions of different things they sell. Preppers, survivalist people, what they're not telling you, what CNN and Fox and those people are not telling you. And I'm going to lay it out, and you're going to say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, okay. It's going to all fall into place, and you're going to see what Trump's doing. And what Trump absolutely is not doing is staging to invade and occupy Venezuela. And remember, aircraft and air superiority win wars, but boots on the ground keep the land. Okay? The only way you're going to get a complete victory with air attacks is to obliterate the country. And you got to remember there's a lot of jungles in Venezuela. Okay? It's warm down there. You're near the equator. It's warm. Jungles. And America's not about to go back to Agent Orange and defoliate the jungles. Could you imagine the outcry in the world if they ever tried doing that, eradicating a jungle? Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what would happen. No, they can't. They can't do that. They'll never do that. Ever. Never. So, you got potential. I'm going to go with all you're going to see the cartels do is go hide in the jungle, and that's all you're going to see. No, you're not going to see Maduro in the jungle because he needs comms. If he goes in the jungle, it's really bad. But I'll go through everything with you. And this is completely not what you're hearing on Fox and CNN. And it's 100% not what you're hearing from all these big sites on all the social media telling you about the wars. And by the way, the XYZ Survival Foods Company got a 43% off special this year. It's a Black Friday extension. And, all of these people are just sitting there to keep you. They don't understand what's going to happen. They really don't know. They're trying to give you twisted research to fearmonger you and get you to buy their junk, which will never do you any good. Okay, without Bible prophecy, you got nothing. So it's going to be secular, and it's going to be a big one, okay? This is going to be very deep, and you're going to understand it. It's not on a level. I'm not presenting this to you on a level that you had to go to West Point or Annapolis to understand it. No. You'll understand it, and you'll see it's right. And then those of you that are believers and believe the Bible will understand what I'm really telling you. And, the bottom line is lift up your head because your redemption draweth nigh. Okay, let me go into the live stream and take a look at how it's going along here. And you're going to see what Trump is really up to. And he's really up to aggression against Venezuela. Don't think he's not. And you're going to see what Trump is really up to. And he's really up to aggression against Venezuela. Don't think he's not. He's pretty serious about Venezuela. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you, well, the sleeper age. So that's a part of it, but that's not where our focus is going to be today. But it's going to be there. You can't eliminate that. That's being an ostrich and sticking your head in the ground. Okay. All right. I'm going to get a post up and we'll get going. This will take a few seconds to get the post up. Is all. Not any length of time to speak of. I hate this new format they shoved down our throat. Oh, I can't stand it. All right. Let me get that up. And let me pin that. I can't tell you what a bad job they did, but because it's unbelievable how bad a job they did, but it's pretty bad. Okay. I got everything right. Okay. Being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, that's what I'm really here for. I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Do I have a prayer request or two today? Because when we get into this thing with Venezuela, it's going to be it's going to be intense. I do. I have a prayer request for HT Hotel Tango. HT Hotel Tango. This person needs help, okay? Like, really needs help, family disruption sort of help, in the middle of a late pregnancy, okay? So pray for HT for help from Jehovah with these circumstances, which are not good. For HT, pray for HT. Okay, and I didn't shut this thing off. I will. Thought I did. Now I got it off. And back. Okay. Is there any lesson news that I should cover, I'm thinking, before we get started? Yeah, this is important, and it could actually, it ties into Venezuela, as you'll see later on. The Iranian forces seized, and I never heard of this country. I'm just going to spell it Eswatini. Have you ever heard of that country? I don't know where it is, okay? It's Eswatini flagged tanker carrying approximately 350,000 liters of what they described as smuggled fuel into the Hormuz Straits. That's right off the coast of Iran in the Persian Gulf. That's where the pincher point is. When you go out of the Persian Gulf into the Oman Sea or the Straits of Oman, whatever they call it, and then from there, if you keep going east, you go to the Indian Ocean. And the Indian Ocean is not in Indiana. Just kidding. Okay, maybe with some people it's not so funny. Okay, the interception occurred on Sunday, November 30th, so a few days ago. And the vessel was taken to Bushehr, that's an Iranian city, with 13 crew members from India and neighboring country, whatever that is, and a neighboring country, I don't know, on board. This marks the latest in a series of maritime actions by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, those schmucks, in the strategically vital waterway, which handles about 20% of the global oil. So I think what Iran is doing here, clearly to me, is just sticking their toe in the water, but now they're in up to their ankle, grabbing ships for whatever reason they come up with, They could say, well, we saw a crewman spit in the water. Iran is run by a bunch of liars that would prefer to lie than tell the truth, okay? That's the Iranians. And, they're testing the water to see what's going to happen. I understand that this snatch and grab job was done in front of a Navy vessel of America. So, they're likely playing with their, what they say, 2,000 new hypersonic ballistic missiles, which they could plaster all over Europe. They wouldn't reach every spot in Europe, but they'd reach a lot of Europe. Now, in June, were able to hit Israel, which is, they were going like, I guess, around 1,100 miles or something like that. So that gives them a pretty decent reach into Europe, unless they could go further, which they may have been able to put another 300, 400, 500 miles on the missile. I don't know. They lie, so you can't believe everything they say. But they did manage to hit Israel, and 17% of their missiles did penetrate past our Iron Dome, our Arrow 3 or 4, and our David Sling and the American THAAD missile systems. And they were using drones with them. Now, in the end of the month, we're going to have online, active in Israel, the Iron Beam, which is really called the light beam in Hebrew, but we'll call it an Iron Beam. It's the laser system, and that is not going to be effective enough to take down hypersonic ballistic missiles, but it is extremely effective on immature, slow missiles, and it's very, very good for drones. Very, very good. So the approach that is commonly taken by Iran is to send a lot of drones prior to the ballistic missile launch, because it takes the drones a long time to travel that far. And then when the drones start coming in, send the missiles. And what's wrong with that picture is the drones are designed to flood our defense system. And then while we're dealing with drones comes the missiles. Okay? All right. Now, we got a wise guy doing witchcraft here. Okay? I discern this. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I command you, unclean spirits, to depart from any and all people or doing any form of witchcraft, spells, enchantment, sorcery in the chat, or not in the chat, that's not in the chat, or not watching the video, being told to do it, or knows what time it is to do it, or is actually watching or listening or reading or whatever the transcript of the video. Whoever the person is, however they're doing it, however the persons are, I command you, unclean spirits, to depart from these people, never to return unto them again. And all you unclean spirits for the next 5 years shall not appear to these people, communicate with these people, guide them, lead them, direct them, help them, or assist them using any device or means or people you can. And this is not only applied to these people, it applies to every person who lives in the same house as them. It applies to every person that works within 100 meters of them. And it applies to every person that has an unclean spirit that lives within 2 miles of them. And these commands are set in place now irrevocably, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with it. And once I said B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, the witchcraft left. Okay. That's all Bible, guys. Read Luke 10, read Mark 16, verse 17. Okay. Let me delete this. So Iran is, the important thing to understand when we're looking at Venezuela is Iran is flexing their muscles. Iran is talked about and has positioned itself to close the Persian Gulf, which chokes 20% of the oil. And your oil prices for crude, even the Brent or the American, it's hovering around $60, give or take several dollars, right? It will probably, the Venezuela thing, when it lights up, will probably take the oil to maybe $75, $85. It's going to bump up. It's not going to bump up that high. Not really, but a little. But if Iran blocks the Persian Gulf, They did it a second time now. Satan got another tier out doing what the first one did to try to convince us it doesn't work. So if you guys wouldn't mind, attack the second tier doing the same thing. Okay, so I could keep talking. They could have 5 tiers, and I'll sit here and waste my time doing this all day. Okay, I'm going to ask the Lord to severely punish them now. Okay. The only thing they really understand, they're so dumb to make them stop, is if like their arm fell off or something. That's how dumb these people are. They think they're gods, even though we can throw them out of them. How thick and stupid you got to be to believe that. You got to be pretty far gone into deception to believe that. All right, so let's keep going on the war. So if they can do the Persian Gulf, you're going to probably see the oil go, I would say, at a low level, 140, 150, so more than double, and it could easily go to 200 or 300 a barrel. Now, there's people that will tell you even 500 a barrel. Personally, I think probably 120 to 200, which is pretty high. I mean, what happens in America if gas triples? So you're paying like $9 a gallon. People aren't going to be able to drive to work with big SUVs and pickup trucks. Some people won't. Okay. Too expensive for them. So Iran is a real threat, and they believe Israel and America are going to attack them any minute. So they will do desperate things. And when we get into Venezuela, we're going to cover some of these desperate things that I think have already happened. And Russia's desperate too. China, not so much. North Korea, not so desperate, more insane. So Ukraine blew up a Russian pipeline, a gas pipeline, that supplies several European countries. Okay? You got to understand, Zelensky just gave Europe an Excedrin headache. I mean, I don't understand what he did, but I mean, it hurt Russia, no doubt about it, and that was his main goal, not to hurt Europe, but it's going to be a problem for Europe. So Witkoff and Jared Kushner went and met, I think, 5 hours with Putin or Putin's team in Moscow. And then they were supposed to meet with Zelensky, and they canceled the meeting with Zelensky, saying there's no point in it because they did not manage to move Russia. Russia's not going for peace. And there's reasons for that. Now, Zelensky is coming to Florida shortly. I don't know if a date was assigned or yet, but that's where Trump's Mar-a-Lago is. So he's probably going to hang out with Zelensky in Mar-a-Lago. Terror operatives in Gaza wounded several soldiers today coming out of the ruins and attacking. So if you think there's a ceasefire in Gaza, you're wrong. They're making believe there is because Trump's trying to make himself out to be the minister of peace while he gets ready to attack Venezuela, of course. Israel sold the Arrow 3 long-range missile defense system to Germany in a deal. They delivered them already. It was the largest defense deal in Israel's history, $4.6 billion US. See, do you think that any of that money is really going to filter down to the people, the common people in Israel? No. A pittance will. That's our Netanyahu, the curse on Israel, and the abomination of garbage buckets out of the sewers. Okay. So the chances of a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia are greatly diminished right now. As you'll learn if you haven't been at this site before, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. And we attack spiritual warfare freely. Epstein Island photos were released by the House Oversight Committee. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for implications of Trump with Epstein, because there's certainly enough pictures floating around. So that's what we're looking for, and other celebrities. We're not looking for pictures of Epstein's Island. I looked at the picture. They were mildly interesting, but so what? These are the first releases of a bunch of subpoenaed files that are supposed to include records from J.P. Morgan Chase and the Deutsche Bank. Well, we're still looking for dirt on political figures. The financial transaction records from Deutsche and, J.P. Morgan Chase are, they're not really that relevant to me. I mean, those guys aren't going to jail. They're bankers. What the heck? They're not going to go to jail. The Prime Minister Netanyahu says that his pardon request doesn't require him to admit guilt, and he declines to say when he'll retire. So he's making it clear that he didn't create a retirement thing where you pardon me and I'll leave politics, because there's millions of people that know he's like a curse and they want to get rid of him. But the replacement is likely going to be a replica of him, another S-bot, Satan bot. The mayor of a city called Bat Yam in Israel says the Iranian agents are openly trying to recruit Israelis, including teens, as spies. Egyptian official says Israel unilaterally opening Rafah crossing would violate Gaza truce. Well, I don't understand opening it. And what does Israel, I mean, yeah, I don't understand. Egypt, of course, it leads into Egypt, and they don't want to see the Gazans come into Egypt, and that's because they want them in Israel to kill the Jews. They want them in Gaza. The shooting at the crowded Metro Atlanta restaurant happened on December 3rd. And what's today, the 4th? So it was yesterday. So it was what you would call a mass shooting in a restaurant in Atlanta. The way they were wording it in the headlines was to make you think it had something to do with a bus or a rail transport line. But Metro probably means downtown, The IDF is building a fence through the Jordan Valley, that's kind of around where I am, cutting off Palestinians from 11,000 acres of their land. Well, I'm sorry, it's not their land, never was. It ain't their land. Well, it was Canaanites' land once, but it ain't their land. They're not Canaanites. Okay. Now this is where you guys should get scared with Trump. when I read you this. You should truly, if you live there in America, you should truly get scared, because this is so bad of a reflection on his delusional state. It's unbelievable. The United States Institute of Peace, abbreviated USIP, has been renamed in honor of President Donald Trump. The State Department says, on the eve of a peace agreement signing ceremony between the Democrat, what? The signing between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. Apparently, Trump's people got some sort of ceasefire there. Watch it break down. All his ceasefires break down. They don't hold. Name one. I don't know. He might have one somewhere, but I don't know of it. They're welcoming the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. So what they did in simple talk, they took the Institute of Peace and they changed the name to the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. Now, this is a symptom of a tremendous amount of pride to the point of delusionalism, okay? And pride cometh before a fall, and what we're going to talk about today is Trump's fall. They're meeting with Lebanon and Israel, America, trying to get Lebanon to disarm Hezbollah. It ain't going to happen. Israel is going to disarm Hezbollah by blowing them up. That's all that's going to happen. That's the short version. It's sort of a waste of time to just keep sitting there and going through it. The Lebanese people with the Lebanese army are not going to attack Hezbollah. The Lebanese army is 60% Shiite, like the Hezbollah. They're never going to do it. It's never going to happen. They're just trying to buy time and hope Israel gets pushed down by somebody and can't come and blow Hezbollah up. And that's all they're talking about. That's it. You could sit there and read all the articles in the paper you want. It's just a matter of time. And that's in prophecy. Lebanon, open up your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. It's in prophecy. And the government of Lebanon is probably going to, eventually, it's going to be under attack by Israel as well. The Lebanese government is saying junk like the first stage of Hezbollah's disarmament will not be completed as long as Israel continues to occupy the lands in southern Lebanon. Well, the reason we did that is because Hezbollah moved in there and the army didn't do anything about it. So now they want us to move out so Hezbollah can attack us easily from there. it's just nonsense. Okay. Um, there is some looking. The Prime Minister of Lebanon noted in his context that alternatives to UNIFIL UN troops in southern Lebanon are being uh, examined. So yeah, so what are we going to have? Turkey or Egypt up there or something? It's pretty stupid. Uh, all right, now we're going to get into the attack on Venezuela. Okay. Why anybody that really understands the American military and how it works are going to see that there's nothing brewing like an invasion of Lebanon. And I need to give you some breakdowns as to why. There's only 20,000 troops in the theater near Lebanon. That's it. Now, you don't take into account, sailors on boats because they can't leave. And they're not infantry and they don't do ground invasions and stuff like that. Navy SEALs don't do ground invasions either. They do operations, special forces style. All right. So there are, rules of thumb that you would learn in a war college or studying war about occupying and what's required to do it. Okay? To really get the regime change going, you're going to have to occupy Venezuela or get a civil war going, which is probably not going to happen. So let me give you some ratios. When you apply the numbers to how many soldiers are needed for a country of 30 million to do an occupation, they have a formula and it breaks out to 600,000 to 750,000, depending on who you talk to. That's what's required to run the country. Okay, if I remember correctly, the formula works like this. You have for every thousand, I think it's every 1,000 people, you need 20 soldiers. Let me check the number and see if that's right. Okay. Yeah, that's it. For every 1,000 people, you need 20 soldiers. So in terms of groups of thousands in Venezuela, you have 30,000. So you got to multiply that times 20. And that gives you 600,000. Now, there are people that say you have to use 25, not 20. Now, these are the figures that Russia, China, America, Germany, France, Spain, England, India, this is what they go by. Okay? Now, some might deviate. They might say, oh, you need 33, and some might say you need 17. But the way America works, the way they're teaching it in the war colleges, the way they've been doing it for decades is, and it's reasonably valid, I would add, is they're coming up with this formula for every 1,000 you need 20 to 25 soldiers. Okay. So an occupation of Venezuela would be at least 600,000 soldiers. Now, that would be mixed up Marines, Army, Navy, Air Force, But there'd be many of them inside the country. Okay, that's how they run the country. Even with that level, they would not be running the jungle, huge jungles, rainforest kind of places, right? They would be hiding there. And America would not be dropping, 13,000 bombs a month, eliminating the rainforest or the jungle. The world would go crazy. You're killing our oxygen. They would. Oh, it would be unbelievable. The pressure. No, that ain't gonna happen. Okay. That's what the rule of thumb is in the military, in the Pentagon. That's how they think. If some of you, which I highly doubt any of such people would be here, I doubt it, were like, majors at least or colonels, and they spent many tours in the military working in the, the Pentagon and in command level and went to war colleges and a lot of training, they know this. So they know that there is no occupation of Venezuela on the books now. But they're not telling you that, okay? The retired generals and colonels that talk on Fox and, with Hannity and all the CNN and ABC, NBC, they know that too. And you don't hear this. So now, you're the chances of seeing this is low. There's 20,000 troops in the theater. That's it. So there's no immediate or no plan. They might have a distant plan, but this operation is not about going into Venezuela, dragging Maduro out, and, no. Now, that's why I put on my Telegram a day ago, I think, a video of Maduro dancing around. Now, Maduro, in his mind, he's going to survive this. What Maduro has to do to survive is have several places to sleep and work out of that are sufficiently secluded, hidden, or fortified so he can work with his troops. Okay, he's at risk of a missile flying in through his window. He's at risk of suicide drones dropping on him. He's at risk of a missile with 1,000-kilogram payload hitting wherever he is. So he's going to rotate around. He has a lot of problems, okay? but that's not an occupation, okay? Um, so for right now, the U.S. is referring to a war on drugs regarding Venezuela. You see, he doesn't have to declare war, Trump, if he says it's a war on drugs, because that goes back to Nixon. There's a war on drugs. I don't think it ever stopped. So they got powers and things they could use. But a war on drugs would normally not constitute invading a country. I'll keep talking. Let's keep going. Um, what you would want to watch for the things now is um, you want to look for expanding the scope of strikes from the maritime drug trafficking vessels to land-based targets inside Venezuela. You will see this. You'll see them strike factories that the cartels have been using to make various drugs and to process coca leaf and opium flowers, poppies into drugs and stuff like that. Okay. Uh, Growing fields will also get targeted. The drug labs, the growing fields, um, the cartel bases where their soldiers, if you will, I'll call them soldiers, are hanging out, where they train, where they sleep, where they party, all of these places, okay? He'll kill them. Then look for a no-fly zone like we already have. This is already here, but most people don't really know it. Trump threatened everybody not to go in there and fly. That was actually an escalation. To escalate that further is to start taking down people that fly. Now, one of the big things this is going to do is stop North Korea, China, Iran, and Russia from bringing weapons into Venezuela. The other thing Trump has been calling for is basically regime change, making public the phone call with Maduro telling him and his wife and kids to get out of town, you know. Trump is following the formula of the Pentagon. So we've pushed it to the point where we're getting ready to attack. Trump took it to a level of what they would call maximum pressure on Venezuela. Now, maximum pressure is going to translate into action. We had strikes against the boats, the drug boats, killing them. We have big naval deployment, big air deployment, intimidation flights near Venezuela, sanctions, political threats, military threats, every kind of threat. Right up to Trump making a phone call and threatening Maduro. So it's really gotten to the point now where it's going to go into boom, boom, boom mode, right? But what I need to do now is show you how the boom, boom, boom mode works, because this is not an invasion. Right now, Maduro is light years away from throwing the towel in and saying, okay, Donald Trump, I'm leaving. You got rid of me. Thank you. You know. It ain't happening. The last thing that Maduro's underlings would do right now, but they're stupid, they might. The worst thing for them would be to kill Maduro and then take over. Of course, a lot of that depends what they would do when they took over. If they called the general or the admiral up and said, you know, we want to work with Trump, tell us what to do, well, they would then become the heroes of Venezuela. But if they wanted to continue, you know, fighting or something like that, well, then Trump would paint them out to be the most awful people in the world, and they have to be eliminated. And that could lead to boots on the ground, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Maduro has to protect himself from special forces assassinating or kidnapping him. And that's not so easy. Okay? If he just surrounds himself with 200 soldiers, he's still very vulnerable to drones, missiles, rockets, all kinds of stuff. Artillery, even. He needs to keep his location in a very safe, physically safe place. And to some extent, I think secret. Basically, I think he has to be underground. If he's underground, it's difficult to get him. Not impossible, because we did that in Lebanon, but you could blow him up, but it's difficult. So I'm sure Russia, China, and Iran sent people over there to help him construct underground facilities that could sustain a good blast, stuff like that. could special forces still get to him? Yeah, they could put poison in his air duct, kill him that way. I mean, he's going to go nuts if this lasts long enough from all the pressure of the special forces. He's not going to have God protect him. That ain't going to happen. What the U.S. is likely going to target, now this is their standard operating procedure in many different theaters of war. Okay? China knows this, Russia knows this, Maduro knows this, Iran knows, they all know this, okay? Radar system and air defense systems, his S-300s, I don't think he has S-400s, maybe he has one or two. They gotta go, okay? They gotta go. His Navy bases for serious Navy vessels and small patrol boats and anything he's got, okay, they're going to get blown up. Fuel depot for the government and the military gets blown up. Ammo depots, ammo dumps, this and that, blown up. Command center where they got their logistics, they got their computers, they interpret the radar, blah, blah, blown up. Runways for the military and ports are going to go. So civilian airports could easily be commandeered by the military, so they're going to go. Okay. Going to be a lot of disruptions there. All his missile sites. Anywhere there's a missile launcher that they could find is going to go. Did he have enough time to put his missile launchers underground and then open a false cover and start launching? I doubt it. I don't know, but I doubt it. Maybe I'm wrong. As soon as he fires a missile, the coordinates are going to go into the computer from the radar. And that site's going to be pronto danto blown up. The amount of missiles, not little shoulder-fired things, real missiles, the amount of missiles is not a real relevant figure. It depends on how many launches you got. If you got 87,000 missiles and 100 launches, you're not looking good. Okay, if you got 20,000 missiles and 500 launches, you're looking much better. Okay? What the Americans are likely going to use at the beginning are cruise missiles, Tomahawks, F-35s, F-22s, F-18s, maybe F-16s, maybe B-52s, but there's going to be very light use of B-52, I think, but maybe more, I don't know. B-52 is a nice, big, juicy target, highly vulnerable, that could be taken out. They're not going to use it much. B-1, B-2s, do they really need those there? I don't think so. What about launching missiles to deliver bombs? It's cheaper to just drop the bombs. Okay, so it's a standard thing. Take out the radar, take out the air defense systems, open up a corridor, go in, and from there start blowing up all the radar and air defense systems all over the country. Now they got air dominance, and they got like 70% win of the war right there, 80% even. But the only way they can stay there and keep that victory is with boots on the ground. You can get the victory without boots on the ground, but you can't keep it unless you decide to annihilate the country. Then it works. I doubt that'll happen. So what's going to happen initially is Venezuela is going to have a lot of trouble with controlling the air. They're going to lose their control of the airspace quickly, fairly immediately, over for them. They may or may not be able to keep a centralized command. It depends on how hardened their command centers are, and if they're underground, and lots of things. This could lead to a fragmentation of the military, where they lost and they don't know what to do, so they just operate defensive. The other thing they'll use against them is electronic warfare, by the way. Oh, their aircraft, their planes, any of their planes take off and go in the sky, they're going to come down and explode. They're going to be taken out. So when they hit the airports, of course, they'll destroy the aircraft. They don't want Venezuela having any jets, fighter jets, or any dangerous Chinese jets or anything like that. That'll all have to be destroyed. So the government will be militarily kind of isolated in its own borders. They'll be disjointed. They'll be in and out of communication with branches of the military and so forth. This is how they got rid of Libya's Air Force in 2011. See, this is their modus operandi. They keep doing the same thing, okay? Now, they can do, America, if he needs to dig deeper, just taking over the airspace doesn't make Maduro a believer. And Venezuela is not going to lose just air control. They're going to lose sea control because the Navy vessels are all around that place. They got about 20, I think. So they're not going to have freedom of the seas anymore. That's over. So they don't have freedom of the air. They don't have freedom of the sea. So they're basically locked into their own country. Now, they got borders with Colombia, Bolivia, Brazil. I don't know what these countries are going to do. They're going to definitely go diplomatically and publicly, well, this is horrible, what's going on. But are they going to deploy army and no. Not at the beginning, anyway. So the Navy is going to blockade oil exports, more than likely. So they're going to just say, we don't want anybody coming here to pick up oil, and we don't want to get any oil tankers. The insurance companies, when they get wind of this, if they insure Venezuelan vessels, which they might if America's running it, Trump can intercept all shipping. Nothing goes in and nothing goes out. Now that's going to bring in genocide with famine, okay? Not so quick, but it could. So it depends to what extent Trump's going to clamp down on shipping is going to depend on Trump. It's not something the Pentagon's going to have a lot of say in. They'll be able to give input to Trump, but that's it. So even if they let it go on, the insurance premiums are going to soar. So the cost of goods going in or out of Venezuela is going to be high. Their oil industry is going to collapse because people are going to say we can't get our oil out of Venezuela, which in their good days can get about 1 million barrels a day, which is a very, very small, like 1% or something of the world oil, or 2%. It's very insignificant, but it's going to scare people and it's going to probably cause some modest hike in oil prices, but not anything substantial. His currency will go bad and it could collapse, not immediately, but it'll probably go there. So what Trump is basically doing is a siege warfare on Venezuela at this point without using soldiers with boots on the ground. And with the cartels, all he's really going to be able to do with them without boots on the ground is blow up their facilities and interdict their aircraft, movement of drugs with drones or whatever, and little boats and boats in general. Now, the regime, the idea of Trump doing this stuff is to destabilize the regime of Maduro. So the propaganda machine will go to work with whatever social media they have unless the internet comes down. Now, mind you, Trump could bring down their internet and Maduro can bring down their internet. So we'll just stop all the ISPs from having internet. So the United States could propagandize the people using the internet against Maduro if he doesn't take it down. I don't know what will happen in that regard. Cyber warfare could be done on the power grid, but again, they're going to be worried about, genocide and all that. But they could bring down the power grid. They could take down banks. They could take down oil operations. All right. Now, if it gets bad, then they're going to go on to communications. They're going to knock out their communications. They'll start taking out radio and TV, phones. Sanctions, of course, could be played with. Seizing assets inside Venezuela from within could definitely be taken on. This, of course, stops escape routes with no air control and no sea control. They can sneak into Colombia or Bolivia and then get away from there, but it's not so easy. The leaders in Venezuela. The plan is to get the government to fall internally, okay, to fracture. They're also going to be looking for defections. Trump will play for people, like a defense minister or minister of roads or something, will be treated like a king if he defects and then spills the beans on how bad Maduro is and things like that. This is similar to the model that they used against Russia in the late Cold War, against Iraq in 1991 all the way to 2003. This is what they used and still do on Iran with the pressure, and in Syria to a limited extent in the past. Now, without doing boots on the ground invasion, they'll still do what I would call raids or ops, okay? So, what is a raid or an op? Well, special forces will do things: sabotage, assassination, kidnapping. That's what they do, okay? They'll use stealth transportation means at times. Um, they'll use drones and submarines can be used to bring special ops in and pick them up after the mission. This is going to create tremendous terror. I understand there's about 120 special operations soldiers in the area. That's a lot of teams, maybe 10 teams. They could run all kinds of ops over there. But I don't think they're going to start with the special forces ops until they create chaos in the country. Then it'll be way safer for special forces. Targeted assassinations is likely going to be something going on over there. Special ops will do. Um, the special ops will focus initially on very high value targets to kill them or capture them. If they capture them, they'll be interrogated. If they roll over, they might fare well in the early stages, maybe. Don't know. Now, in the middle of this, they're going to destroy the cartel targets. So we've covered those, okay? And they've got the special forces could be useful to get to storage facilities that maybe they're not sure where they are for missiles, rockets, things like that. But the special forces are not going to be based there. They're going to be doing in and out, you know. They'll be looking to get, and they will, high-ranking military defections and government defections. The unrest is going to explode and spread in other parts of the country. If Maduro flees or somebody overthrows him or something like that, that's going to be very, very good for Trump if that happens. Trump could recognize this new leader or forming a new government, and this would be somebody that's going to play into Trump's games, Federal Reserve Bank, the oil, all of this stuff, right? A Federal Reserve Bank, they call it a central bank, you know, a phony baloney money supply house that rips the people off, basically. And then Trump would send economic aid, try to get the UN to send aid, you know, stuff like that, jack the place up with the new government, make the people happy with the new government and not want to go back to the old way, you know, things like this. It's not that hard. The guy's not a Muslim, you know. Generally speaking, the people in these countries don't like the drug cartels. The drug cartel hire children that could be 16, 17 and push adults around with guns and AK-47s and beat people up. You know, they don't want them. The ones that want them are the people that are in them, you know. That's the only people that benefit from the drug gangs is the drug gang. The rest of the people suffer from them. Trump is readily going to shut down the oil exports, which is going to choke the economy. But that's a human rights violation, and they're going to start with the famine and the genocide, just like they did with Gaza. So I don't know what he's going to do that. I don't know how far he's going to go yet. That would be very important way to go for a revolution. So he may do it. If he gets a good revolution and puts a puppet in, he doesn't have to do anything anymore. So these were the things that were done by the Americans with Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, post 2003. Now, let's talk about what the U.S. cannot do without a boots on the ground invasion. Okay, they cannot permanently control the cities unless they overthrow the government and get a new government installed. They can't. They can't stop guerrilla warfare. Even if they have a new government installed, they might be in the old Maduro camp and think they could overthrow the new government and go back to them being in control with drugs and oil or whatever, right? So they can't stop guerrilla warfare without a high level boots on the ground for perpetuity. Um, they can't really secure the borders long term either, nor the sea, nor the air. um, and they can't stop the cartels from reemerging because they're going to go hide in the jungle. And they can't guarantee democracy or stability. These cartel guys didn't go to Yale and Harvard. They can go live in the jungle. It's easy for them. Or little villages around the country that's not in the jungle. So this is what we're going to see, okay? Because it's already just about started. Air and naval domination by America, boom, no problem, okay? Economic strangulation, depending on how far Trump wants to go. I don't know yet what kind of gut level he has. He's limited in guts, okay? Internal pressure for regime collapse. Oh, he's gung ho on that one. Targeted raids. Yeah, rather than blanket carpet bombing and stuff, targeted raids. Yeah. But there's not going to be a occupation in Trump's mind right now like there was with Saddam Hussein. I'm telling you right now, let me finish up here. I'm giving you a real heavy dose of the military strategy. Now, some of you can grasp it better than others, I'm afraid, but okay. Venezuela is huge in terms of square miles. That's a nightmare. The jungles, rainforest jungles are very, very problematic for warfare. The American public isn't going to sit still for 600 or 700,000 soldiers being deployed to Venezuela yet. Yet. Um, So what Trump can do is bust up seriously Venezuela's military, but I'm afraid not, and militia, but not seriously make an end of them if they don't want to be ended. He can hurt the oil exports for sure. He can hurt the infrastructure for sure. He can isolate the country, the government. Um, he can trigger some sort of governmental collapse economically. And he can get rid of certain leaders, maybe targeted assassination, whatever. He can't secure and keep the country without boots on the ground. Cannot do it. It's not ever done. Okay? He can't prevent future insurgency. So a government is changed, and without boots on the ground, they just come out of the jungles, overthrow the government, and take it back over. Here comes the drugs. Let's go sell the oil, and just like it never happened. He can't prevent the insurgency from returning, and he he can't start, maintain, keep, and control some form of democracy, and he can't rebuild the nation from what they did, which would be, I don't know, it could be they blew up bridges to stop troop movement. They blew up tunnels, road tunnels, to stop troop movements. They blew up airports, ports, piers. I don't know. I don't know how far he's going yet. So now you got the idea, all right? So what Trump is really up to is he wants to get the cartels out of business. Now, is there a chance Trump is going to leave if he gets the cartels out of business? Trump might think so, but the answer is no, because the cartels have already planned for this weeks ago. They've already taken their inventory of opium and cocaine, picked the fields as clean as they can, took the product and hid it wherever they can hide it. It could be in civilian garages, warehouses. Look, if somebody had a nice 3 or 4 car garage in a big house, and it was 10 or 12 feet high, do you know how much cocaine you could hide in a place like that? Millions and millions and millions of dollars worth, So they could have the drugs hidden all over the country now, underground as well. Huge amount, enough for them to probably run a year or 2 years, stored correctly and hidden. And then they just, if Trump really starts the war, which I believe at this point he will, they're just going to beat feet and go hide in little villages or in the jungle or whatever and wait till it's over. The cartels keep warehouses full of money. They do. Okay? And they hide that stuff too, so they could pay these guys for years, keep the economy. That might help keep the economy going too. I don't know. It would have to help the economy. All right. So they just wait Trump out. They feel he's going to come here and play with us for a few months. So the cartel bosses may have already left the country. Now, if they're afraid, like they're going to get picked up by the DEA and this and that, maybe they didn't leave. Or maybe they did. Maybe they got we don't know. Maybe they went and visited the plastic surgeon and they got a new passport from Venezuela, which would be easy for them to do, with a different date of birth, a different everything. And the passport could have even been backdated a year or two. And they travel out. They go to Brazil, or they go to Bolivia or something like that. And then they take a flight from there to some other country if they need to. They might not even need to. They could just stay in Brazil or Bolivia or Colombia someplace. Colombia would be a little dangerous with the Americans running all over the place. But Brazil, probably not so much. They could go get themselves in rent a nice houses someplace, whatever they're gonna do, you know. There was too much time that Trump put all this pressure on them, and he still hasn't started the attack. If he put the pressure on him and then waited a week or two and then started the attack, he would have had them all boxed in Venezuela. So if he doesn't do the boots in the ground, the whole operation is going to be reversed to prove it in history as a sheer failure. Oh, yeah. It won't maintain. You know, these drug cartel people are billionaires, and you can't assume they're stupid. They're smart. They're evil, but they're smart evil. So they're not going to just give up, you know. Now, I don't know personally myself how deep Trump really understands this. I am very underimpressed with Trump's intelligence as evidenced by his performance since January 20th. Everything he touches, he's got the opposite of the Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to ashes or poop, you know. It's just bad. So what would China do? China will politically go to bat, boom, 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 for Venezuela. Oh, gosh, bring a lot of public attention to it. Boom, bash, bash. Will China give them offensive weapons like missiles to take out American ships and hit America? China, I doubt it. I don't think they want that kind of aggravation with America. Would they give them anti-aircraft missiles? I believe they already have. How many, I don't know, but I imagine quite a bunch. Did they deposit some advisors in there that would be considered diplomats from China with diplomatic passports and immunity to help? Yeah, likely that's something they would do. These guys could get out if Venezuela collapses by just showing, hey, I'm a diplomat here, you know, and America would say, sure, you can leave. What do you need, you know? And that's it. I don't think we would see more than that from China. What about if Venezuela needed money? Probably not, but that's not going to happen. Okay, now we come to Russia. Here's the problem. Russia gives a Rishnik or some other kind of long-range hypersonic ballistic missile to Venezuela, and he's going to use it to try to get Trump off his back, and it might very well work. And then they're going to trace it and figure out whose missile it was, okay? And they're going to know the missile wasn't made in Belize, okay? Making a joke. They're going to get upset. And they're going to figure out it's a Russian missile. If Russia gave them missiles. And then what do you think Trump's going to do? He's going to give a shipment of Tomahawk missiles to Zelensky to pay Putin back for the favor. And what will Zelensky do with those missiles? He will attack Russia's oil supply to break the economy of Russia. So do you think Putin knows this? I do. Do you think Putin is going to do this? I'm unsure. Putin's desperate now. I don't know. Is it possible Putin already gave Orishniks to Maduro? Yes, it is. There's been like a convoy of aircraft going in there. So what is it? Well, I don't know, but do we have a chance that Russia gave offensive missiles that could hit America to Venezuela? We have a chance. I don't give it a very high probability. It is a possibility. Now comes Iran. Do I think Iran gave long range missiles to Venezuela? Yep. Why? Iran's got everything to gain and not much to lose. Now, Russia isn't in that exact position. At any point in time, Russia can pick up the phone and call Witkoff and Jared Kushner and say, please, I got some beautiful vodka and some caviar and Cuban cigars, and come over here, and you're going to go home very happy as heroes, I promise you. They're going to fly out the door, get on a jet, and come over to Moscow. And then he says, I had enough of this war. That's all he has to say. I'm going to end the war with you, but I want some things. I want sanctions lifted. I want this lifted, that lifted. And Witkoff, well, we got to check with Trump, but I think you're in the ballpark here. We're going to come up with a pretty good sanction relief package for you. And you're going to get to keep, maybe keep half of the land he occupied or a fourth or something. So it sells to Zelensky, and they'll cram it down to Zelensky. Keeping all the land he occupied, Zelensky doesn't want that. But if he cuts it down to half or a fourth or something like that, Zelensky's going to likely say, yeah, okay. And then he has to give up on Zelensky could never ascend into NATO. Then he doesn't care. Yeah, okay, I don't care. And that's it, right? So what I'm telling you is Russia has an escape hatch. So at any point in time when things are going like this now, he can call Trump and get out of it. Iran can't. Nobody's sitting there yelling at Putin he can't make these kind of missiles, you can't make nuclear energy, you can't do. They're not telling him anything like that. They're telling it to Iran. Putin is not a jihadist. He doesn't tell his soldiers that if they get killed fighting for Russia, the Snow Queen's going to give him 70 virgins in heaven or something like that. He doesn't do that. Okay, he plays with the Russian Orthodox Church. Well, Trump plays with the Catholic Church, so they're on the same page. They're transactional. They're on the same page. So yeah, I think Putin could get out of the war any day he wants. Why would he give weapons to Venezuela? That's the $1 million question. Because there's a plan taking place. And it's God's plan. God's bringing the attackers to attack America, the daughter of Babylon. He's bringing them. Okay? And they're going to be pleased because they get to loot, plunder, and pillage America. And the sleeper agents are there. When Trump was running for office, he said there could be 30 million sleeper agents this guy that was a high-ranking customs official at the Texas-Mexico border who recently retired, he said it could be up to 40 million. And then people are saying 60 to 70% of these illegal immigrants were single, fit, military-age males coming by themselves. So if you take the small figure, let's not even say 30 million, let's say 20 million, and you got 60% of those, you got 12 million sleeper agents. Cut it in half just for the heck of it, you got 6 million. Cut it in half again just for the heck of it, you got 3 million sleeper agents. Do you understand? That's like almost half the population of New York City. Not quite, but almost. Do you understand, I mean, what that is? It's higher than that. I mean, if you're looking at it realistically, you'd probably have to really give it at least 8 or 9 million or something like that. It's probably higher. That's huge, huge, huge. Trump by no means shipped out any. Maybe Trump got, maybe he got 1 million people out of America since he took office, maybe. But a lot of these people were not sleeper agents, just people coming in here trying to get on welfare and stuff like that. I doubt the sleeper agents were told to get on welfare. I could be wrong. Maybe they are, but because it would break America's economy, maybe they were put on it, but I don't know. So let's not make believe the sleeper agents don't exist. Let's make believe, or let's come to the reality that China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Al Qaeda, ISIS are in this. They're in it to win it. They're not in it to play games. Okay. They're in it to win it. What are they trying to win? Trying to get rid of America. The Muslim states have a real problem with America. All of them. Then you got Belarus, you got Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, you got Yemen doesn't like them. Others, I mean, Saudi doesn't love them. There's a lot of Oman doesn't like them. A lot of countries don't like them. Egypt doesn't really like them that much. On down the line. They dictate too much, and what Trump did with the tariffs really made them crazy. So Putin, on the one hand, is desperate. He has to come back with something to the Russian people. And he's not getting it. Zelensky isn't giving it. Zelensky believes with the aid just of Europe, he can wipe out Russia. He's probably right. But Russia sees here. See, if America was to fund, Putin would attack Poland. He would tell Poland, the next time you bring weapons into Ukraine, I'm going to bomb you. And he would attack Poland, and he would tell Poland if they do it again, he's going to really attack them. I mean, he would go in there and he would hit military targets and kill soldiers. and break up equipment of some sort. He would probably kill at least 50 or 100 soldiers. He would be vicious, and they would either stop or have to go to war with him. Without America, they're so scared in Europe. Are you kidding? They ain't going to war. I mean, if Putin attacks their country and tries to occupy it, yeah, they're going to go to war. What choice do they have? You know, I mean, Putin would always give them a choice. All you got to do is lay down your weapons and join Mother Russia, and I'll give you a citizenship card, a Russian passport, and you can be part of Russia. You know, what would happen? You'd have some kind of medical coverage that actually probably isn't that bad. You'd have food that actually wouldn't be that bad. You'd have public transportation that would be quite acceptable and good even. You would be able to buy clothing like without that much difficulty, and you would, you know, be. I mean, they get gun permits in Russia. You know that they get pistol permits and stuff, right? They just, you know, like living in any other Satan bot country, pretty much. It's not communist. It's not that great, but no country is, you know. So yeah, Putin would let them if they want to submit. It's okay. He'd stop killing them. So Putin has a vested interest in giving weapons to Venezuela, but he has to be careful. But Iran has nothing to lose. Iran is on borrowed time. It's in Bible prophecy. Elam is the word used in Jeremiah 49. Elam is considered by some historians to be Iraq, Iran, portions of Iraq, and perhaps even portions of Syria. It gets destroyed so bad, it gets busted up so bad that all the people leave Islam. They scatter into all the countries of the world, every last country, and the sword follows them and they get cut off as in dead. That's in your Bible in Jeremiah 49 pertaining to Elam, and that's who Elam is. And Iraq has a severe water shortage just like Iran. How about that? Isn't that a sign that they are the same? I'd say so. And Iraq has attacked Israel, and they have threatened America, and they're sitting outside Syria, and America's upset about that, and they're terrorists, and, you know, they're, okay? So Iran is waiting for the hammer to drop. America is the hammer of the whole earth, via Israel or itself or both or other countries. Now it says Iran, Elam, shall be destroyed by her enemies in the plural. So it's not just Israel and it's not just America. The plural would be the two of them, but the word is enemies. And Iran has more than one or two enemies. They got enemies. The UK is no friend of theirs, for instance. There's a lot of countries that are not real pleased with Iran, okay? So it could be a multi-countries attack Iran. So maybe Iran brings this on by arming Venezuela. Now, the guy in Venezuela is not a real sophisticated, sharp guy. With all that oil, he has to go around being a drug dealer. That was bright, wasn't it? What does he need all that much money for anyway? He's trying to hurt America is what he's doing. Sending those gangs, those criminally insane gang members up there. He's playing games. So he played with the wrong one. Trump's finished with him now. So he may have gotten these weapons. I mean, who am I to say China didn't give it to him? I don't believe China did. Russia, probably not. Russia would give it to Iran to give it to them, something like that. Would Iran give it to him? Yeah. Would North Korea? Yeah, but I don't think they're in that deep. Would Iran send soldiers over there to help Venezuela launched these at the Americans? Absolutely. Could he have anti-ship missiles? Yep. Now, how could this transition to this air attack, naval attack, embargo of Venezuela into a boots on the ground invasion? You know how easy that is? Come on, it's a joke. Missiles from Iran, Russia, China, or even North Korea, they hit America and he shoots into America. Then Trump goes to Congress and goes nuts and says, we got to declare on Venezuela. And they're going to say, you got it, Toyota. And then he's going to start a massive military deployment to go in there and conquer the country. And his idea of conquering the country is going to be take over their oil. Now, at the best, Maduro was able to bang 1 million barrels a day out of Venezuela. I would think if Trump took it over, no kidding, 1.5 million probably, at least 1.25 million barrels a day. Probably get at least, maybe even 1.5 million or higher barrels a day out of the place. That's a comfortable little nest egg of oil. Let's not kid ourselves. And they would take over and create this wonderful democracy down there, who's a puppet state of America with a central bank they would set up. They would give economic aid to Venezuela. The people that are homeless in America would again not get the aid, but it would go to Venezuela. That's how they are. The poor people don't have oil. As a joke, if there was a poor neighborhood and they happened to strike oil, then Trump would be their friend. But that's not going to happen. So Trump's not going to, have any problem giving them economic aid. And, then the companies, the Subway, McDonald's, Papa John, Pizza, Wendy's, they'll all start moving down there, feeding the people that level of food, and KFC and all that stuff. And then other stores will open up down there that were probably afraid to go there under Maduro because he was a pig. He could just rob them. He could have his police kidnap them and tell the Home Office he needs $20 million or he's going to kill the whole family. Who the heck knows what that guy would do? So, there's all kinds of businesses would go down there. The Navy clothing store people, all of this stuff, all kinds of junk. I don't know what Venezuela has that they would want to get out of there. There'd be a certain degree of tourism down there, but I don't know. That spot I told you about on the coast where people go down there basically December and January. It actually starts around Thanksgiving and it could maybe go tip into February, the first few days, a week or 10 days or something. But it's pretty much a 2-month thing. And the people, I told you, this is very real. The people that have houses there can't afford to stay in the houses those 2 months. They rent it out. And I would think today that a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, a nothing with nothing house, would probably rent for $15,000 to $30,000 for the month. And if you're talking a big mansion-esque type place, maybe 40, 50,000 for the month. A 5-room, 5, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 square foot place. Now, what if you had an apartment that was, 2 bedrooms, 850 square feet. Oh, you probably could rent that out for, I would think down there, 450, 400, $450 a day. And so they would make a lot of money then too. They just pack out their valuables. They leave the dishes, certain amount of dishes, certain amount of linen, utensils, bedding, sheets, vacuum cleaner, all that kind of stuff. And they move out. They go live with their friends or family for a period of time, and they don't work. That's all they do. Well, if you have a little apartment, it might not work. But if you have a house, I've heard many stories about this place. Personally, I don't know what's so exciting about it. Okay, I think if you speak Spanish, it's very attractive to go there. But a lot of Europeans go there that don't speak Spanish. I honestly don't understand it. I don't. I just never could grasp this, but I do know it's been going on for maybe 30 years. And people go there and take the whole family there. Now, I could see if you're living in Switzerland or someplace in Europe where it gets really nice and cold, Poland or something in the winter, and you fly over there, um, it's not that grueling of a long trip, but it's a big trip. And you're going to have very nice weather. It's going to be there down by the equator in those 2 months. You're going to have what they call the summer. But the nice thing is you're not going to have a lot of rain, you're not going to have a lot of humidity, and your temperatures are probably not going to go over 80, 85, which is idyllic beach weather. It's hot, but it's hot enough that you could stay out. But, the way you would see this play out is people would go to the beach in the morning, and probably around 12, they would go off the beach, and they might come back at 3 o'clock. You're probably looking at about 6 o'clock sunset. So they come back at about 3, and they got a few hours more sun. Um, and then in the evening, you could sit outside. It's pleasant weather, very pleasant weather. So they have clubbing, bars, you know, they got internet, they sit around and, live stream each other. I don't know. It never had any appeal to me. I don't understand why people get into that. I've been to not all the Caribbean islands, but most of them, and those have appealed to me. But there's not much to do on these little Caribbean islands. I mean, you put yourself, if you got money, you go put yourself in a luxury hotel. They're not that luxurious, but they are luxurious. And you could get good food. I don't think you would get great food in the Caribbean. You would get nice food. It would be satisfying. It wouldn't be anything to write home about. And except possibly with fish, you'd have same day caught fish, and how much talent does it take to barbecue fish or something? So you might actually get some good food, actually. And you get out in the sun. So if you're in Chicago, let's say, or, Idaho, and it's a freezing cold winter, and you fly down to the Caribbean for Christmas and New Year's, and what would happen? Well, you'd thaw out. Uh, your sinuses, if you were sick, your sinuses would probably dry up, and your throat would dry up and heal up, and you would get a nice tan. And would there be any shows to see? Yeah. Would they be any good? Mediocre. Probably best case medium level, but probably below. Would you be able to see the sights in these Caribbean islands? Yeah, but there's not much of anything to see. I've done that. I think it's a waste of time. The things they said, I remember taking a tour. They took me to see an old jail And it's nothing. I mean, it's no. They take it a big. They make a big thing about a waterfall in one of these islands, maybe Jamaica. There's nothing. No, I don't think there's anything to see. What about the shopping? Well, you can buy, jewelry at a very good discount, but you could be subject to taxes bringing it back. The shopping's not that good. The bulk of the stores there are selling cold soda, hats, T-shirts, sunglasses, uh, junk. Most of the stores are selling junk. I don't know what it's. This is for people that like going to the beach and they want to get away and just sit there and soak in the sun and come back January 3rd and have a deep tan that lasts them through March or something like that. Now, if you really give yourself a good burning tan, you probably can keep some resemblance of the tan for 6 to 8 weeks. So you might actually make it into March or something like that, and you might be able to get out in the sun again in March. But um, I think you could do the same thing flying from Chicago to Miami. Um, you'd have a little bit cooler weather than the Caribbean, but not noticeably different, really, not that much. You can get out in the sun there. Um, is there more stuff to do in Miami? Oh, yeah, Miami's got a lot of stuff to do. You know, if you go shopping in Miami at the discount malls, you don't have to pay tax because it's still in America. But, okay, so I think Iran has probably already given weapons to uh, Venezuela. So if Venezuela hits a ship, an American warship, and sinks it and kills a bunch of soldiers, you wouldn't kill all the soldiers, probably. You'd kill some, all the sailors. They're trained in how to evacuate. Now, they might panic and just throw themselves overboard and wait to get picked up, and that would work because there's other ships near there. They'd all race over there to save the sailors. There would be no doubt about that. But um, yeah, some guys would get burned, some would get killed, some would maybe lose limbs. The ship would very possibly be on fire. It could be a real nightmare. Um, what if he brings an airplane down? It could happen. If he has the S-400 system and he has the S-300 and he has the Panzer, he has all three systems, and some plane comes through there and is careless and reckless, absolutely, it could come down. They could bring it down. It would be pilot error, so to speak, I think, but it could happen. But those systems aren't going to be around long. He says he has 5,000 Stinger type shoulder fired missiles at aircraft. So if you had an F-35, an F-18, an F-16, an F-15 flying around, or B-52 or whatever, flying around visibly, and you had two or three guys with these missiles and they started shooting at the same time, they may very well tag the plane and bring it down. Now, Trump may just end the campaign and go home because he's cowardly about that. That's pretty much what happened with Yemen and the Houthis. Or he could bear down. Now, if the ship really goes and kills a lot of soldiers, it's going to be a cry for war. If a ship gets injured, hurt a ship and they just fix it. Iran is desperate because Iran knows they're going to get attacked. And there's two countries that are going to attack. And their thinking would be, without America to bolster up Israel, Israel won't attack Iran. He's wrong, but that's how he probably thinks. So Iran may do it. And if Iran's going to do it, Russia might do it too, and China. This might be it. Okay? This might be it. They could draw Trump to put 600. They know he's going to put 600,000 people. Nobody's going to come help him. Who's going to help him? Canada, UK, Germany. Yeah, nobody's going to help him fight Venezuela. Nobody. So 600,000, then he's going to have to take the amount of ships up to 45 or so. And he's going to have to move about 400 aircraft down there and get ready for an invasion. And it's a big job. This is playing to China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia, because now America has military assets in the Asia Pacific theater. A bunch. They got a bunch in the Middle East. They got a bunch, not a huge amount, but they got some in Europe. Now, Russia adds into this and flies more drones into Romania, more drones into Poland, Sweden, Estonia, all these countries just keeps flying drones in there. He doesn't give a hoot what happens to the drone. And it scares them, and they start moving equipment, buying weapons, and scaring and positioning and getting ready for Russia to invade them. And then in some cases, Russia moves troops over to their border. What does he care? He knows they're not going to preemptively attack his troops, so he moves them over there, and then they start reacting, right? So Russia will do more moves, and the NATO is going to scream for America to bring assets over there, so they do. Then comes China making more threatening moves to Japan. North Korea doing more missile testing, scaring South Korea. China having Taiwan wake up in the morning and see 7 warships and aircraft flying around as if they're being put in a siege. And America moves more military assets over to the Asia Pacific theater because they're all screaming. Now who's vulnerable? America homeland. Now you got the sleeper agents. And I've just told it to you. That's it. Now, let us read Jeremiah 50:24, which really should explain to you a lot about what's going on with Trump and why nothing's really working out for that guy. All his peace plans are falling apart. He's getting nowhere fast. Trump is trying to ice skate uphill with a headwind. He pushes hard, he goes up 20 feet, and then he slides back 30 feet. Okay, Jeremiah 50:24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon. That's America. Now, a lot of you are not aware of that and don't want to believe it. And thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. Look, how has Trump striven, or all the other leaders in America, striven against the Lord? I'll give it to you. Genesis 15. Lord made a covenant with Israel, a covenant, a brit in Hebrew, a covenant. It's not just a comment, it's a covenant. He doesn't break covenants. When did God break covenants? He's going to give him the land from the Euphrates to the Nile. The Nile River goes down to Lake Victoria, quite a ways. When in the old days, Egypt was building their, what do you call them, pyramids, sphinxes, junk like that, all the way down to Lake Victoria. So what part of geography does this cover that belongs to Israel? Well, starting with Egypt and Africa, going to the right-hand side, which is east, it covers from the Nile River, east in Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan, Uganda, Kenya. And over by the water, you got Djibouti, Somalia, Eritrea, Ethiopia. I think I covered it, but only east of the Nile River, or to the right of it. And jumping over the Red Sea, so the Red Sea would be our waterway, of course, not Egypt's. What belongs there is Yemen, but Yemen gets destroyed and nobody lives in it anymore. Saudi Arabia, Jordan. Now we're talking the Euphrates River to the left or the west of the Euphrates River, Syria, Iraq, and Turkey, which is 2/3 of Turkey. All of Jordan, the Israel land we have now. And then it goes up to the Persian Gulf. So you would also have Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman. It's about 100 times bigger than the land we have now, as a rough cut. That's the land promise. Now, all of this land is occupied by mostly, almost exclusively, very close to exclusively, Satan's chosen people, the Muslims. And they are occupying the land. And Trump is very comfortable with it. Make an Abrahamic accord with Israel. In other words, Israel, you shut up and be gracious friends with these superior Muslim states that are willing to make an Abrahamic accord with you. Don't even mention the fact that God gave the land to you. You see? Look what he wants to do with Gaza. He wants to run it. Did he ever say, Gaza's your land? You gave it to them, and look what they did to it. Now take it back. It's yours. Did he ever say the West Bank is yours? Tell the UN to go fly a kite and just move in there. Annex it and move in there. He never said that. Take Jordan. It's yours. Come on. He's anti-Israel. He's antichrist. Trump is not the antichrist. There is no such thing. There's the beast and the false prophet. The scripture says, written about 2,000 years ago, it says, even now there are many antichrists among you. So there's no particular antichrist. It's the beast and the false prophet and the talking statue, that crew. But they're not running around here yet. All right. So, yeah, Trump's an antichrist, okay? But what does a snare do? A snare is you walk into a trap. There's a honeypot. Oh, I want that. Nice steak. Let me go in there. And then you eat the steak or you eat the meat or something, and then you realize you're stuck and you can't get out. And that means you're going to die. So let's apply the snare to Venezuela. Well, it looks good. It looks like he can build a name for himself and get his credibility of being a tough guy back, right? At the same time, he's thinking it's going to be beneficial for him. He's not going to get hurt. With Iran, he's going to get hurt, okay? With Russia, he's going to get hurt. With China, he's going to get hurt. With North Korea, not so much, but South Korea is going to get hurt for sure. So he's sitting there, well, Venezuela's safe. What are they going to do to me? That's the snare. You walk into the trap, you think everything's good. You want the honeypot, and you don't see the danger. It's not my snare, it's Jehovah's snare. Do you think Jehovah has perfect snares? He does. You don't see it coming. Does it have to be this? No. Do I think there's even a remote chance that this is going to go well for Trump? Nope, I haven't seen anything go well for Trump since he got sworn in. Nothing. Nothing. I don't believe this is an example where it's going to go well for him. So it says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken. He's going to be trapped in the snare, and it's going to be the end of America. O Babylon, and thou, Babylon means confusion. It doesn't say Babylon in any of the texts starting from Genesis to Revelation. It says Babel, which is a word that means confusion. And there sure is a lot of confusion in the world, especially America and other countries. And thou wast not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. He is striving against Jehovah. He's dedicated to Satan. He's dedicated to riches, the sign of a godly person. And, you know, he's gone. He's a goner. He's a transactional. He's a psycho. Look what he did with that peace thing. The Donald J. Trump peace thing. He's a jerk. He's a jerk, an egomaniac, an idiot. And he's playing with Israel. The country's playing with Israel. Does it say Trump is in a snare? No, America's in a snare. Biden, what he did to us, what Nixon did to us, this is recompenses, payback. This is payback. This is the first step I'm seeing where I think the nations may get this guy. Well, I saw it with Iran, but it didn't work out. He put a lot of military assets near Iran, but he punked out. Maybe the timing wasn't right. Listen, this recompenses business ain't lasting forever. Okay, it comes to an end. And the day of vengeance, it comes. Guarantee. And the year of redemption is the Shana of redemption. It doesn't mean a year, it's a period of time. So just like our year of recompenses is almost at 2.5 years, it may be similar with redemption. It doesn't have to be, but it could be. A lot of stuff is going to happen in redemption, but it's going to be a heck of a lot more fun than recompenses. Ugh. 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 We're losing people, I know. People aren't coming around anymore. They stopped giving offerings. I don't hear from them. They're falling away. They're not making it. I see new people coming in. Not that many falling away, but enough to say it. But when persecution comes, they drop it. And, you know, what you got to remember is Revelation 12, who Satan makes war with. And they don't teach this in the church. Where am I? Let me find you the scripture. It's the last verse in Revelation 12. '17. And the dragon, that's Satan, was wroth with the woman That's the 12 tribes. And went to make war with the remnant of her seed. That would be us. The seed is not seeds of many, but seed of one, which is Christ. But we're in Christ, right? Okay. Which keep the commandments of God. The commandments of God is not just the 10 commandments, although you got to keep that too. It's the law. And have the testimony of Yeshua HaMashiach. The testimony of Yeshua is the spirit of prophecy. It's prophecy. Correct prophecy, not Schofield, Darby, garbage prophecy, real prophecy. Okay? And that's us. I don't know who else. The Messianic congregations don't do it. The churches don't do it. The Pope's people don't do it. You know. Anti-Semitism is rising. We're not going to have a persecution with people getting thrown out of their houses and put in concentration camps and beaten and having their goods stolen. I see none of that in the scripture in these days. No, I don't. You got to leave room for punishing Israel so their sins don't go unpunished. But we've had almost 2.5, or we had, no, not quite. We've had over 2 years of nonstop war and a lot of wars previous to that. So we're getting our wars and our terrorism, and that's pretty punishing. And we got Netanyahu, and he's pretty punishing. He's a punishment. He is a punishment, I'm telling you. And all those other Espot leaders, they're punishments. They just bring bad. They don't do anything good. So what we do is we watch this thing with Venezuela develop. I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that Trump is just going to go attack drug sites and leave. Because all the people in the DEA and the Pentagon and everything else are going to tell him he accomplished nothing. So he's going to try to get rid of Maduro somehow without doing a ground invasion, which is probably never going to work. And he's definitely very scared about doing a ground invasion. And and something would have to happen to get him to want to do a ground invasion. And I think that Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran are going to try to make that become a reality and happen. So he decides it's a good thing to do a ground invasion. And that's what I think he'll do. And when he does a ground invasion, it's a whole other, it's such a massive operation. It gets him exposed so badly. I'm trying to read a post here. Oh, nothing. I'll see if I have any questions. I'm not seeming to have questions. So he's going to make mistakes. He's in a snare. The country's in a snare. He's doing evil. He doesn't stop doing evil towards Israel. He's threatening the people in the judicial department, the high-ranking judicial people in Israel. He threatened to put sanctions on them if they didn't let the pardon of Netanyahu go through. And Netanyahu is a curse on us. or a punishment, and he wants it to continue. So that's the kind of person he is. That's how God looks at him. Worse, even, he worships the unclean spirits. He's an enemy of God. He thinks that he can do whatever he wants with God because he's a God because of the demons. And he's in a great delusion, guys, and they all are, all the leaders of all the world. And that's why you're going to see Jeremiah 30, verse 11, which I'll read it to you. And most of you aren't even aware of it. It's so sad that you're not. It's not my fault that you're not, but you're not. And I wish you were, because you would deal with things differently. But Jeremiah 30:11, for I am with thee, saith Jehovah. You see, that's referring to Israel. He's with Israel, but we're not going to see it in its fullness until the people stop relying on Trump and the Israeli military. That's my opinion, and I think I'm right. Okay. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to salvation thee. That's the appearing of the sign of Son of Man in the clouds, to salvation. To the word is Yasher or Yeshua. Okay, Yeshua really would mean like the provider or giver of salvation. Yasher would be salvation. Yeshua's root name is salvation. Yasha. Jehovah to save thee. Though I make a full end of all the heathen nations, whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Now, leave thee altogether unpunished doesn't mean to me there's going to be a big Holocaust of Jews, although we do read 2/3 in Israel get cut off. That is a big Holocaust, but God arranges that. I don't think the Jews around the world are going to be exterminated, like during World War II. I don't think that'll happen. But war could happen, and I don't have a guarantee that it won't happen. I just don't believe it will. So I don't read it in the scripture. There's going to be all kinds of destruction in the world because he scattered the Jews into all the nations. Well, actually, the Israelites into all the nations. The Jews mean Judah. You should say all the 12 tribes. So they get it. And you read this again. It's not just one place. Jeremiah 46, verse 28. And it's sad that people don't know this, but it's not my fault. I teach it. 46:28, Jeremiah. Fear thou not, O Yaakov, that's the 12 tribes, my servant, saith Jehovah. For I am with thee, for I will make a full end of all the nations. The word is goyim, whither I have scattered thee. I say heathen nations, not just heathen, because it means the heathen nations, which are all the nations except Israel. How can he scatter you into a private individual, into a person? He can't. It's the nation. Okay. So he's saying, I will make a full end of all the nations. But what he's really saying, all the heathens. Well, he means where they live, their countries, that kind of thing. Or the heathens' countries, whither I have driven thee. But I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure. according to your punishment, I'll correct thee. Yet will I not leave thee wholly unpunished. So he spared everybody, including Israel, and punished Israel. So that's basically it. So they're the preppers, the survivalists, the gun people that are talking about this war coming with Venezuela are teaching garbage, as you could see now. They're just giving you stuff to get you in the head to buy prepper supplies and survival food and survival this and survival that. You know, protect against EMPs, protect against radiation, get more guns, get a bulletproof vest, get this, get that. You know, it just goes on and on and on. And they keep milking it and milking it and milking it. And they don't ever really tell you what the war is going to look like. And they don't tell you that this is definitely 100% right now not being staged for an invasion. They don't want to tell you that. But it 100% is not being staged for an invasion right now. It's predominantly going to be air and Navy attacks. That's it. The Navy can shoot missiles and hit targets, you know, take out ships. It's following the way America did it in the past to other countries. And that's what you're going to see. All they're doing is figuring out stuff they could tell you to stop buying survival goods. Some of these guys show you and tell you how they live, and they go out and buy all kinds of cars and stuff, and vehicles and boats, and all kinds, and other people don't show you how they live. And basically a lot of them are stores, and they just talk about current events relating to war and stuff as an advertisement. That's what they do. I sell nothing. I can't make merchandise out of God's people. All I can do is take offerings. So the offerings have been, again, so bad last month that I'm concerned that, you know, later this month I have to come up with my rent. And the deal I have is I have to pay it every 3 months, which is hard. But I usually fare better, but I'm really concerned right now because I don't have it. And we're having food problem, you know, paying for food is scaring us because it's so expensive here in Israel. Everything's expensive here in Israel. Gas is $8 a gallon, or maybe it's in the sevens now, 7 something. It's so horrendously expensive. And it's hard, you know, so I get concerned, you know. So I started bringing it up now before it gets too late in the month because, like I say, I've never been this concerned about this before, and I've been doing this for 13 years. People are falling away. Nothing I can do any more than that, you know. I can't go visit them. I can't go flying around the world. I don't even know where they are. I couldn't even, if I wanted to, visit them. I hope you got something out of this. So remember, things don't go the way Trump plans. And this thing has tremendous, fantastic opportunity to blow up into world war. Surprising if it won't. Maduro, Venezuela, has friends. Colombia, Brazil, Bolivia, Russia, Iran, China, North Korea, Cuba, they're not all going to sit back and watch him go down. And none of the countries that I told you about like Trump. None of them. They don't like America. They're not going to let it go down so quick. So what we do is we watch and we wait. Remember, the year of recompenses is not a year, it's a period of time, and it ain't going to not come to an end with the day of vengeance. It will. And it ain't going to go on forever. God's going to leave his children to live like we've been living the last few years forever. I don't think so. Not a chance. It's coming to an end. It's been going on a long time. All right, I'll pray for us, and you guys can agree if you like. If you're a believer, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father Jehovah, I pray for all the true believers in their households and their families. I pray for you to lift off us or loose off us any evil works or any works of the unclean spirits or the people that serve the unclean spirits. Just loose them off us forever. And I pray you bind the unclean spirits from perfecting or making any work of theirs work against us and cause problems for us in any way, shape, or form. That never happens. I pray you would keep your spirit poured out on us, and then we would have your shalom, peace, and joy, and calm, and rest, and the gifts of the Spirit. And I pray we would very soon be able to meet together and have a place in Israel and have a place to bring people when they are new to the faith. That's how it worked in Acts chapter 2. They had house churches they would bring them to. And then God would bring them in, a few thousand in a day. You couldn't put 2,000 or 3,000 people in one house. They had to get spread to houses. You can't say, well, now that you're saved, they'll see you around the campus. You can't do that. Is that the gospel to do that? No, that's not correct. You put some in the church, apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, and evangelists. So you got to nurture them, And I pray that we would be together in Israel. We'd have a place or platforms to bring people. I pray we would all have adequate finances and then some. I pray that we would know what's going on in the world and where it's coming from and what you're going to do, not just what the unclean spirit serving people think is going to happen. And I pray we have no accidents, no tickets, no breakdowns, no getting stopped, stuck, or stranded with any car or vehicle or mode of transportation. I pray we don't get scammed, frauded, robbed, ripped off, or inconvenienced. I pray we would all have your healing and recuperative, the believers and their households and families that are believers have their pray we would have your healing and recuperative power flowing through us, that we wouldn't get sick or hurt, and we would be healing of what needs healing every day. Pray we would have strength, stamina, and endurance, and I pray we would have we would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray that our animals and pets, which are precious to us, would be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole as well. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and I agree with it if you're a believer, even if it's a video. Please pray for my wife Rivka. She's got some sinus thing, still hasn't gone away. Pray for that to heal up, that she be happy, healthy, and whole, not sick or hurt, and the sinuses thing clears up quickly. And appreciate that. Thank you. And I pray for um, the peace of Jerusalem, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach and his Father Jehovah, our Father. And that's what I got for today. I hope you got something out of it. At least you're getting a good look at it now versus trying to get this from CNN or Fox or the people with the survivalist stores and the prepper stores trying to teach you about what's going on in the world, which is it's only designed to teach you things that may or may not be very truthful to get you to go out and buy more survival stuff. That's what it's designed for. That's what they're there for. But I don't sell anything. Okay. And I'm out, guys. Thank you.